Welcome, Michael and Eric.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Chasen, and I'm the CEO of PrecisionHawk. And I'm incredibly excited to be here at this year's AUVSI XPONENTIal. This industry has seen tremendous growth over the last several years, but I think in the last year in particular, we are on the verge of truly reaching that hockey stick curve, that level of exponential growth that we've been waiting for. I'm someone that can actually recognize these signs in industries that are about to undergo this incredible level of growth. Before joining PrecisionHawk as the CEO, some of you may know I was the co-founder and CEO of a large e-learning software company, Blackboard. And that industry also went through this same type of growth. And I remember in the beginning it starting to build, and then suddenly we hit that hockey curve, and every school in the world was using our technology. And I remember when I called my mom the day after just about a decade of running the company that we had sold Blackboard. And I called her up on the phone. I said, "Mom, can you believe it? A company that I started with my roommate from college, just the two of us, we grew to over 3,000 employees around the world. A company that we started in a brownstone in downtown Washington, D.C. We grew to have offices across multiple countries around the world. A company that started with just a handful of schools, putting a few bits of their course material online. We grew to over 30,000 institutions worldwide that were bringing teaching and learning online in full degree programs. I started as a new entrant in the industry, and suddenly I had a huge social media following and over 100,000 followers on Twitter. And a company that started as a small private company, I got to take public, run as a public company for 7 years, and then sell for just under $1.8 billion. And my mom said, "Son, that's great, but remember, you're not a doctor." Jewish mother. But nonetheless, the reason that I mention that story is because a lot of these same traits is what I'm starting to see now in this industry. We're on the verge of this level of exponential growth. And the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is that piece of technology, what is that pinnacle change that's going to cause this tipping point, that's going to cause us to go from strong growth to this level of exponential growth? And I think that we actually now have that answer. I think that answer is AI and machine learning. Now, not in the drone, although I believe also in the drone, but using advanced computer vision and AI and machine learning to start taking this data that's being gathered by all these aerial images from all these drones and using these advanced sensors and starting to deduct actionable business intelligence. And I can tell you that this is happening in multiple industries. At PrecisionHawk, we work with people in the energy industry, agriculture, telecom, construction, and general infrastructure. And in all of these areas, we are focused in 3 key items. We're focused on building the world's largest drone pilot network to start collecting this data. We have over 150 full-time pilots working for PrecisionHawk that we have trained not just to be Part 107 certified, but trained in being able to know how to fly these advanced sensors on this critical infrastructure. And we have a network of over 15,000 pilots across the United States and around the world. In addition, I'm very excited that we're a partner of AUVSI's Top Operator program. They're focusing on safety and risk mitigation and making sure that pilots who are starting to fly this critical infrastructure know and have the proper training to do so at this high level of quality and safety. So we're very excited about the moves that they've been making with the Top Operator program, and we're happy to be a partner of theirs. But even though people call PrecisionHawk a drone company, I now have almost a majority of the company focusing on AI and machine learning. And I think it's a compliment to what the speaker before me was just talking about. This is fundamentally starting to change the way that businesses look at their operations. We're taking our expertise in drones and data collection and merging that with data science, 2D and 3D modeling, deep learning, computer vision, and automation. And lastly, as a company, we're also very focused on making sure that there's great efficiencies achieved by being able to fly beyond visual line of sight. A lot of you probably know that PrecisionHawk worked closely with the FAA and a number of other organizations in putting together the Pathfinder report to identify the safety and procedures and technologies that companies could utilize to fly beyond that 1 mile visual line of sight limit. And PrecisionHawk is one of about a dozen companies that can fly beyond visual line of sight. And we have this added benefits of our pilots being able to be more efficient and effective because of that. And we think that this is something that's also going to change the way that data is collected and put together once more and more companies start using it. And in all three of these areas, we have been focused on partnering with companies like NextEra, Florida Power and Light. And we've been working together for a number of years to both build the pilot network, to use AI and machine learning, and to expand the way that we're flying beyond visual line of sight. So I am very excited to introduce Eric Schwartz, who's head of the UAS program at Florida Power and Light in NextEra. This is one of the largest and most influential energy companies, not just here in the United States, but around the world. And Eric has taken a leadership position not just at the company, but in the drone industry. And so I'm very excited to introduce Eric, to have him talk about how their company has been deploying drone technology and now is moving towards utilizing AI and machine learning to fundamentally change the way and improve the way they're doing business. Eric?
Thank you, Michael. So instead of standing up here and talking about myself like Michael just did for the last 5 minutes, Florida Power and Light actually produced an ad and a commercial about me and what I do for the company. So let's take a look. My first patent or invention was when I was about 8 years old, one of the things I'm most proud of. My great-grandfather and grandfather were both engineers and inventors, and picked up the knack from them. My role at FPL is to look 5, 10, 15 years out into the future at technology. Our goal is to come up with that technology and make it work for our customers. The end game is to be able to increase our reliability. That's how we're changing the current. So sitting around the house when this commercial first aired in South Florida where I live, I've got my 3 boys sitting there and my mom, who also happens to be Jewish. And they're all excited. They see the commercial. They think I'm a celebrity. My mom's sitting there texting all of her friends the link and saying, oh my God, my son's on TV, yada, yada. As a good Jewish mother is so proud of her kid. But my Twitter followers still have, 5 people. Florida Power and Light is owned and operated by a parent company called NextEra. NextEra recently was named one of Fortune's most admired companies. And we also operate an unregulated utility called NextEra Energy Resources, which operates in 43 states outside of Florida, 6 provinces in Canada, and also in Spain. On the Florida Power and Light side, we have over 3,000 employees in Florida, over 75 miles of power lines, 890,000 transformers, and well over 1 million poles and structures that we have to physically touch and inspect every single year. We serve well over more than half of Florida with 5.5 million customers. And on the NextEra side, we are the world's largest generator of renewable energy, with over 120 wind sites across the United States and Canada, over 10,000 wind turbines, and well over a new announcement. In the next 30 years, we are going to install 30 million solar panels in the state of Florida alone. But getting back to Florida, anyone who lives here, is from Florida, or visits knows that this is a challenging environment. A peninsula with salt spray, lightning, hurricanes. We have over 530 miles of coastline, more than any other utility in the United States. Challenging from Jacksonville all the way down to Miami on the East Coast, on the West Coast, Sarasota, all the way up to Naples, and then recently acquired Gulf Power in the Panhandle. This gives a huge opportunity for salt spray, especially because 80% of our customers are within 20 miles of the coastline. And then lightning strikes. Florida Power and Light in Florida is the lightning capital of the world. And we also have this little thing called hurricanes that pop up now and then. But as you saw in the commercial, my role at Florida Power and Light is to look 5, 10, 15 years out into the future, to look at new technology, new innovation for our customers. Our goal at FP&L is to improve reliability and be the lowest bill in the nation for our customers, and everything we do is for them. But the process and the industry standard to assess equipment of those million structures is manual and human dependent. And let's take a look how the industry does it today. So as you see, they're literally driving and walking every mile of every feeder, looking hundreds of feet up in the air to identify if there's an issue or not, and then using our standards and subjective experience as a human being to rate the severity. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But the truth is, with my role at FP&L, looking at the future, how are we going to take this to the next level? How are we going to take this manual and human-dependent process to improve lives of our customers and our employees? And the goal is drones and artificial intelligence. The drone story, just like any utility or any commercial entity, started back in 2015 with the 333. We literally sent out a mass email to over 10,000 employees at NextEra asking who had their private pilot's license to fly under the 333. We did here and there demos, making sure we were 500 feet from a non-participant, because we all know that was one of the biggest issues that we had to deal with. And then in 2016, Part 107 came about. I myself, on the first day, got my certificate. And it really changed the way we started to look at things. We were able to get more pilots, do more demos. But the true pivotal point of this industry, and for this industry and this technology, was in 2017 with Hurricane Irma. This was the opportunity that this technology was waiting for, to be able to show the world the value that it brings for us and also our customers. We were able to, working with the FAA, get 52 ECOA, emergency COA certificates to operate within class airspace beyond visual line of sight. We were able to obtain 11 BVLOS COA waivers. We were able to fly 51 flights, 11 of those nighttime BVLOS in the Keys. This truly changed the way that NextEra FPL looked at drones as another tool in our toolbox, and also the world. It led us up to 2018, where last year we were able to inspect over 4,000 miles. That would have been unheard of in today's age without this type of breakthrough. And this year we're well over able to reach 10,000. But with any scale of this magnitude, a company is not just going to scale up and hire hundreds of pilots, because on some days we're doing 1 to 2 inspections. Other days we're doing dozens. So working with companies like PrecisionHawk that at the drop of a hat can scale up and you can make a phone call and bring in a drone team for 1 or 2 or dozens of inspections is critical and also essential. But what truly keeps me up at night is, as you saw, doing thousands of miles of inspections. The fact is that we've now collected over 1 million pictures, images, videos, and data points, just sitting there on multiple computers, SharePoint sites. And what are you really going to do with that? That's a true gold that has yet to be mined. And that's honestly what keeps me up at night and what the future holds. But that's just the beginning. Remember, my role at FPL is to look 5, 10, 15 years out. And the true value that this brings is not reactive work at looking at equipment after damage or after outages has happened, but the true value that now drones, partnered with machine learning image recognition, can go ahead and sit and actually go to a location or a structure multiple times over a time period, collect that imagery, and now with change detection after AI, machine learning, and computer vision, to be able to tell us that something is going on and changing drastically over the time period. To now go from a reactive side of it, but for our customers to be able to change out that piece of equipment and reduce and eliminate an outage for them and make their lives better. That is the true future of what we see. But with any program of this magnitude, you need to plan to operationalize it. So working with PrecisionHawk the past few years, we've come up with a utility-based side, which is scalable over multiple business units. But to start off, as we said, drones and flying. That's the easy part. Go out and fly safely, of course, collect hundreds of thousands, millions of images. Then you need to go train with them, sitting down, working with PrecisionHawk and subject matter experts to be able to box and identify all the equipment from good and bad, insulators, lightning arresters, poles, vegetation. Then going into actually training and testing the model over and over and over again, augmenting pictures, making sure that the model improves over time. And then Florida Power & Light is a huge Six Sigma company. We take quality very seriously. So we did a gauge R&R. We took our subject matter experts sitting there on average, being able to identify and look at 1,400, 1,500 images a day, literally sitting at a computer, clicking next, 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 compared to an AI model. And statistically, we proved out that the AI makes a difference and is better than the human side. But this isn't just for poles and wires or for power delivery. At NextEra, we break down the walls with communication for our customers as a whole, because as you saw, we not only operate in Florida, but wind and solar for our power generation, environmental, and also storm response. Now, let's take a look at how we're taking this from operational and what we've done into precision analytics.
Thank you, Eric. So what I want to show you today is that we had two goals in particular when working with Florida Power & Light. First of all, we wanted to have the goal of gathering all of our data together in one place. So in this example, you can see, following up on Eric's discussion around utilizing drone technology and gathering images for distribution lines or poles, someone now might be able to log into a system and take a look and see all of their data that's been gathered by drones in one place and see all of the different distribution poles that they are monitoring, and go ahead and pull up that information and have access to all of the visual imagery and thermal imagery and LiDAR and any other data that's been collected for this particular energy asset.
And the great tool with this, and the point of this, is that currently in our industry alone, you have, as Michael said, multiple companies, visual, thermal, LiDAR, obtaining that imagery at this point in time. And it sits on multiple different areas, SharePoint, people's computers, and so forth. And the true value of bringing it all together in one place to share to reduce time to action.
And by bringing it all together, you can very easily do things like generate very powerful condition reports, or you can build in a communication system so all of these different people from all of these different areas who are looking at the image and have different areas of expertise can now start communicating with each other.
On this side, it's the point of that with different multiple business units, customer service, field operations, and staff employees, being able to add notes and then create proactive alerts, so as someone adds a note and identifies a condition, it now can alert operations to let them know that there's an issue that needs to be taken care of.
So that was the first step. Gather all this data together, put it in one place for easy reporting and communication. But that's not necessarily redefining the business as they do work today. That's where AI really comes into play. So now, you can load up all these images that have been pre-processed by computer vision and machine learning, and someone who might be examining this utility asset can say, you know what, let me closely examine and see what's going on in this very high-resolution image, and let me even go ahead and just automatically remove the environment. Let me focus just on the image itself. And in fact, let me even remove some of the structure and wire so I can just closely zoom in or take a look at the different components. Now I can actually closely examine it for potential damage or problems. Now, that's, of course, just replacing the manual process that goes on today. But taking it a step further, let's see what the AI and computer vision has found. So now, with the click of a button, the computer can process an image and not only identify all of the different assets that are on the screen, which is great for cataloging and getting a good base case of what you have connected to all of your energy systems, I can go ahead and say, you know what, let me only look at first of all, what other users have also tagged, because let's say multiple people have looked at this image, but let me look just at the potential problems. And now it's highlighting things that the user might have missed in the first place using a good deal of tagging and training in the system. So I can go ahead now and click on, it's identified a potential problem. I can go ahead and click on it and see that on this structure of steel crossarms, there's some damage. It's about a severity level 2. And I can even zoom in and see, yep, it's caught some light damage, and maybe I would have missed that.
And the true breakthrough with this is the fact that, as I mentioned earlier in the operational plan, is that initially using humans and subject matter experts to tag all of the images and damage good and bad equipment. This is now using YOLU, you only look once. This is using a machine learning AI to automatically tag All those boxes that you saw previously and this damage are done by a machine algorithm, not by humans anymore.
Now, of course, we wanted to recognize that this is still a process. That even if you're using AI, it doesn't replace automatically day one people having to manually review all these images. But we can help the users prioritize and identify problems hopefully more quickly and at a statistically significant increased rate from what they had been able to do before. But if something's missed, then, for example, a user of the system can say, you know what, I'm seeing a problem that the computer maybe hasn't yet been trained on. So I'm go ahead and say, hey, in this image on this particular component, let's say it's an insulator, there's a problem. It's broken, and it looks like it's about a level 3, so maybe something that needs to be addressed immediately. And let me go ahead and just draw right on the image where that problem is. And now what's happened is, first of all, I've gone ahead and created a workflow that this now can be addressed, but I've also just added to the AI and now trained the computer further to be able to identify this exact type of problem. And so when we're talking about AI and machine learning, we're not talking about replacing the processes that the energy companies are using today, but really complementing them, because now you're talking about people working in conjunction with the AI, maybe having a higher success rate and knowing what they're looking at or identifying problems, but using people to also further train in the system so it gets better in the future and provides more capabilities to the end users. But Florida Power & Light isn't just using AI for their different energy assets. They're using it for, as Eric mentioned, some environmental projects as well.
Recently, in the past year or two, we've planted mangroves down at one of our nuclear facilities in Florida. And so we physically have had to initially go out there with buggies and in the swamp and count them for environmental purposes. But now, using machine learning and a drone, we can do counts like that. On top of that, we're very environmental friendly and have a lot of our power generation facilities along the coast, both east and west of Florida. And we have here in Riviera Beach the Manatee Lagoon, which we recently built, which during the winter time is a huge area for tourists and people to come in, but also for warm water for the manatees. And here, the current process is manually being in a boat trying to count the manatees as they swim around. Now, they're slow-moving animals, but still, it's very human-dependent and manual. Now with drones and AI, we can do this.
So I think we've given you some good examples of how artificial intelligence, when combined with the capability for drones to collect incredible high-resolution aerial imagery, can really start to change the way companies do business. And now, what we've been talking about is using AIs in these individual component areas of a business. But what Eric talked about before was now AI starting to be used across an organization.
And the great example with this is that you might not think that an AI model with poles and wires is going to help an AI model in wind and solar or environmental or in future with nuclear and so on, but it actually does. Having everything, as Michael's shown right here, in one place on the back end, all the models are working together to learn from each other and improve over time.
So when I began this talk and came on stage, I talked about why this industry is about to go from strong growth to exponential growth. And what is that pinnacle technology that's going to create that tipping point? I believe, and I think the focus of this morning's keynote has been that AI and machine learning is that technology. I think we're going to start to see a mass adoption of drones to be able to collect this data to feed into these advanced AI and machine learning algorithms, and it's going to fundamentally not just improve the way we do business, but change the way we do business across multiple industries. And companies like NextEra and Florida Power & Light are leading that way and are big proponents of drone technology, and we're very excited to be a partner of theirs.
And this is how PrecisionHawk and Florida Power & Light are changing the current.
Thank you very much, everybody.